It's the Mike Nowak Show with Peggy Malecki. Green, gardening, and environment radio, flavored with a dash of humor. Welcome to intelligent, irreverent talk about plants and the planet they grow on. Your questions, comments, and participation are always welcome on Facebook and Instagram at The Mike Nowak Show and at Mike Now on Twitter.
Good planets are hard to find. Temperate zones and tropic climes. And true currents and thriving seas. Wind blowing through breathing trees. Strong ozone and safe sunshine. Well, good planets are hard to find. Good planets are in demand.
Brought to you by Bartlett Tree Experts. Every tree needs a champion. Go to bartlett.com.
Jet streams, perfect air.
And here they are, Peggy Malecki and Mike Nowak.
Well, good planets are in demand. Right.
And Lagata.
Hello.
Hello. Good morning and happy Easter to you.
Happy Easter.
And happy spring, really, because that's what
Yes.
it's all about. I've got all the things I need here, right? Oh, wait.
Wait a second.
That I don't know. How did that get there? All right.
I don't know.
Is that what you do on
No.
Easter? No, I
Well,
guess
you
that's
could.
not. I suppose.
You could if the Easter bunny is in your garden nibbling on something. Yes.
Yeah. And I noticed that. Okay. Now I just have to fix that. I've got all those guys. I realize I have some of our old sponsors, but that's okay. We'll just let them run up there because all of the people who are here are good folks. I just need to change the timing on this. And we love all the people who sponsor us and who have sponsored us in the past, and they all get a ding. Wait, that was a lot. There we go. How about? There we go.
Yeah, we've got film festivals up there. I see. Yes.
Yeah, I do, and they're done. You know, maybe during a break I can fix that.
Actually, I know at least one Earth Film Festival will be having during Earth Week. They will be having a few films available.
Really? Okay.
Yes.
That's good. So happy to have their image up there as a reminder that we have terrific sponsors on this show, and welcome everybody. And yeah, it is. If you're in Chicago, you're going to have a great day. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. In fact, Peggy and I are all dolled up here. No tie, but
no, that's pushing it.
You know, and it's the first time I think I've worn a sport coat. A jacket here. Oh, I have to tell you a story. Not a couple of years ago, I was looking to buy a sport coat, went into a chain, some kind of, and I don't even remember the name of it, talked to a very young clerk and said, hey, where are the sport coats? She had no idea what a sport coat was. That was not anything that it resonated with her at all.
What did she call it?
I don't know. We had to explain. No, like it's a jacket. You button it, and it's kind of cash, but you
wear a pink carnation with it.
Yeah, and right, a white sports coat and a pink carnation. Do-wah. All right. So that was.
Our guests are leaving right now.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, wait, where did they all go? They were here just a second ago. All right. Well, one of the things I have to do before we get to, and we have a great show. We're talking food today, and
always good.
Yeah, and good food, healthy food, community.
Local food.
How to sustain a community, how to put money back into the neighborhood of your community. And so welcome everybody to that. And then after we talk food and community, we talk with our friend Nate Kipnis about architecture and green architecture, low carbon, net zero. Does that exist? I'm telling you, I'm I'm a fan of retrofitting after having it done to my house, which it's not even the same anymore. It's so wonderful
Yeah.
to be here. And I'm going to tilt. There we go. Just a little bit. There
Yeah,
we go.
and
That's
let's
okay.
see, we've got good morning to everybody watching us and wishing us spring wishes here. Let's see, Dan Costa says it's a great day for repotting his bonsai.
There you go. So if Dan Costa is commenting, bonsai is going to be part of that. It's going to be part of that. And so welcome everybody. So before we get to where we're going to go, I'm going to make you disappear just for a second. So yeah, how about that? So that I can bring us both up here because we have a
I
lot
didn't
of.
even have time to sip my coffee.
Yeah. Oh, shall I turn this off again so that you can sip? No. It's quick because
Oh dear.
we're going to go down the list and bring in the folks who are on the show. And there's a friend of the show, Grant Kessler. Good morning, Grant. How you doing? Uh-oh. Wait a second. Wait.
Sorry, that might have been me.
Oh,
Good
it
morning.
was. Okay. Woo. You
Good
scared
morning,
me
Grant.
there. Yeah, he's with Chicago Market, one of the food co-ops we're talking about this morning. Let us go here and bring in Scott Bricks. And Scott is with Food Shed Co-op. How you doing, Scott?
Good. Hi, everybody. Thanks for inviting me.
Oh, it's a pleasure. You know, you've got that classic background. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez does that with like nothing in the background when you see her on the news programs.
Yeah, well, I called her up and asked her what she thought my background should be. So in fact, the name of the paint she recommended is called Classic Gray. So you're right on.
There you go.
Scott, it's just too tasteful for words. Okay. And I should mention, Grant, Chicago Market Co-op is in Chicago, is in the city of Chicago, in the Uptown neighborhood. Food Shed Co-op is out in McHenry County. And Kathy Nash is also with us with Prairie Food Co-op, and they are out in DuPage County in Lombard. So what happened was I got emails from all of you within a couple of weeks. And I thought this is a great idea. Why don't I just bring all these folks together and we can talk about the food co-op movement in the country, how that works, why it is good for people, and we have three different outfits here that we can contrast and compare. So welcome.
And they all wore their T-shirts this morning too.
Well, that was in
They
the
all
memo.
have their
We didn't
market
get the
shirts.
memo about the sport coat.
Oh, there we go. You're right. It's all about the marketing, as you know, which is a big part of it. Grant, you're the marketing guy for Chicago Market. So, well, since we started there, let's talk about that. How does one get the word out? Obviously, some of the traditional ways, which is nowadays, which is social media, but it's got to be a never-ending task, doesn't it?
That's a lot of the work of the early side of co-ops organizing is getting people to join you as owners and building your organization and building your community, and that comes from reaching out to people. So yes, and prior to this year, we did a lot of in-person events. We'd table at things. We'd get out, talk to people. We hosted events as a way to connect with folks. And of course, now we have to rely on Zoom opportunities for that. Social media marketing, emails, all that sort of stuff to reach people, and appearances on fabulous shows like the Mike Nowak show help us also. So thank you for that.
Oh,
it's great to have you supporting the whole co-op community right now. So thanks.
It seems like a good idea to us, but Grant just brought up something interesting, Kathy Nash, which is we're just coming out of a pandemic year, and the opportunity to meet with people in person hasn't been there. So how has that hampered your efforts to get the word out?
Yeah, I mean, like Grant said, we were doing a lot of in-person events and tabling, and all of the events that we would normally go to were canceled. In the summer, there was still a farmer's market, but we weren't allowed to table there because we weren't an actual food vendor. So the farmer's market for us is a really great way to get out. So we really had to rely much more heavily on social media marketing and Zoom meetings and word of mouth and our newsletter. So it definitely posed a challenge for us this past year.
Yeah, and I imagine, Scott, you've had pretty much the same thing on your end.
Yeah, if anything, though, I would say it turned into an opportunity because we kind of learned how to leverage the Zoom tool. And early on in the pandemic, when the grocery store shelves started emptying out and people were kind of panicking about where they were going to get food, we started having Zoom meeting with local farmers and trying to help them get their food out in ways that maybe they hadn't previously done so because they were relying on farmers markets and local restaurants, which were all closing. So in a strange and ironic sort of way, it kind of helped us get our message out, I think.
That's a good point. And one of the things I wrote on my blog, and folks can go to MikeNowak.net, MikeNowak.net. There's an article that I think, Kathy, you posted on your site that the Trib wrote earlier in the year, and it's about the success of co-ops during the pandemic. And I found one in Civil Eats, and it's in that from last year. And last year things were really surprising because in the midst of a lot of supermarkets having trouble with stocking their shelves, with restaurants closing, as you mentioned, Scott. Oddly enough, some local farmers were doing well, and we've talked about it on this show. This is nothing new. And co-ops were doing well, although that tide might have turned now. If you also read a follow-up I did about the Dill Pickle Co-op in Chicago, and we'll get to that in a little bit. So things wax and wane. It's kind of hard to know in the middle of a pandemic exactly what's going to happen, but as you said, Scott, there was an opportunity.
Some of its location, too.
Yeah. So before we get too far ahead of ourselves here, we need to explain exactly what a food co-op is. How is that different from a supermarket? What are the advantages? How can people get involved? Grant, why don't we start with you? What is the deal?
What is the deal?
Yeah, what's the deal, man?
What is a co-op?
That's a small question you posed there, Mike.
Okay, I've got all the time in the world. You can go all day long.
Let's start talking.
Yeah. So a co-op, from a business structure standpoint, is people in the community building a grocery store that they feel doesn't exist, that doesn't meet their needs. And the community comes together to solve that problem. So for us, for example, we look around and say, hey, grocery stores are not doing a great job, in our view, of carrying local sustainable goods from local farmers and food producers at the kind of volume that we want to see, right? We can get that stuff at a farmer's market, which we love, but we'd like an open grocery store that has that on a daily basis and, regular grocery store kind of hours. So it's that access to local foods. It's being able to shop at a store that meets your values and thinks about sustainability in ways that other grocery stores don't. And from a when you walk in kind of shopping perspective, we do like people to understand it's not a farm stand. We won't be a farmer's market. We'll be a full service grocery store. You can come in. You should be able to come in and shop for groceries like you do in other stores, but the products are going to be different, and the customer service and the personal feeling you have when you walk into a co-op, you're likely to know people in there because you all in the community own it together. It's a small local business that we all support by being owners, though we like to make sure everybody understands anyone can shop in the store. Ownership has its benefits and helps us get open, but everyone's welcome in the store to shop. So,
okay, that's
does that help you?
Yeah, it's a jumping off point.
Yes.
Scott, would you like to add anything to that from your perspective?
I think that may be the best description I've ever heard from Grant right there. So thank you, Grant, for that. But,
Well, okay.
I would just say it's Jim. Yeah, meeting adjourned.
That's right. That's all we have. Good night, everybody.
No, I think it's community. For me, it's all about the environment. And we have maybe 3 or 4 categories of the reasons people might be owners or members of a food co-op. They fall into the community category, the environment category, which Grant mentioned, the healthy food category, and I guess that's it. It's the personification of democracy with a small d. Everybody owns it. Everybody participates in that ownership. And I guess the other category would be business, keeping the dollars local rather than exporting them to some faraway place through the big box store.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well,
that's what I'll add to it.
Kathy, well, then let me ask you a different question. If it's all this and more, and it's such a benefit, why does it take so darn long to put a co-op together? How long have you guys been working on that in DuPage County and Lombard?
That's a great question and a very long time. We've been working on this for about 8 years. And I think one of the reasons in this area in particular it takes such a long time is there's not much familiarity at all with food co-ops and in general cooperative business structures. So when you're approaching your community with the idea that sounds great, it's difficult for people to understand what exactly they're buying into. So you have to really lay the groundwork for what does ownership mean and how is that helping the business and why do I need to become an owner now when your store might not be open for several years? And, since we started organizing 8 years ago, it's also become more expensive to open food co-ops because they're unlike the food co-ops that some people might have in their mind of the 60s or 70s where you walk in, it has a certain patchouli smell to it and it's really hippy-dippy, and those still exist and that's great, but most modern food co-ops organizing to open need to be competitive with the national chain grocers. They have to, offer all of the same products and services that you would see in a competitive full service grocery store. So that's just more expensive to open a store like that. So there's just a lot of things, a lot of challenges that you face starting up a food co-op business.
Yeah,
especially in a community that is not familiar with them.
Okay. And that's part of it. It's selling the idea to that particular community. And go ahead, Peggy.
I was also going to add, are there challenges of selling it to the municipality, not just the people that live there, but to the local government?
Anybody?
Absolutely, yeah.
Feel like
I'll take a stab at that.
Go ahead.
Started out the food shed. We started out the food shed as a county-wide project, and what we found was that some communities, some governments in our county, loved us more than other governments, and it turned out that we ended up in a Woodstock with a Woodstock address, and they've shown a lot of love and support for this project, and in numerous ways. And in fact, we're really close to the economic development people in Woodstock. We're really close to the mayor who's leaving on Tuesday, and we're just got to know on an hour-long Zoom this week the new mayor that's coming in, and he's extremely supportive. So that's a good thing.
Well, and also I noticed that you're going to have the space. The different. Okay, let me go back to everybody here. The difference. There's several differences here. Kathy and Scott, you guys have spaces that you're building on. So these are going to be brand spanking new structures, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Grant, you're dealing with a structure that is established in the city. As a matter of fact, it's the L station at Wilson on the Red Line. And that poses its own kind of problems, doesn't it?
Yes. It's and opportunities. It's beautiful. It's a fabulous landmark building at the corner of Wilson and Broadway. We love it because it it is tapped into that commuter system, and it's right next to the red and purple line. So your Evanston owners can hop off and on the train and get their groceries. It does have a parking lot on the backside, a pretty large one for a store our size. So we like people to know that it's accessible from all means of travel, certainly walkable and bikeable and all that as well. But being a historic building with nothing but the facade is well repaired, and it's a gorgeous building, and there's nothing inside. And so our work is to plan and build out the interior for it to be a grocery store. It has the added quirk, I'll say, compared to somebody who gets to build their store from scratch, that it is the shape it is. And ours is a wedge-shaped kind of triangle, which is not ideal for a grocery store. Pinches in the center a little, and it means traffic through the middle will be challenging. And that's something we've bumped up against, but in the past year have developed plans and solutions to make our quirky little space work and be a great grocery store.
You know what I was thinking? While we're here, because I've got some videos that you guys have sent me, introduce folks to your various outfits. And maybe encourage people to sign up, whether they're in McHenry County or DuPage County or Cook County in the city of Chicago. Grant, since we were just talking to you, let's play this and then take a look at a little bit from Chicago Market.
Chicago Market will be a community-owned grocery store that welcomes everyone. Our owners couldn't wait to begin connecting eaters with local farm goods and products.
In just 4 months, we've put over $7,000 into the local food economy.
We love our farmers and producers and offer online sales and pre-order events of their sustainable, locally made goods. Our To Market team recently partnered with our events team to produce our Thanksgiving pop-up market. Thank you to all our volunteers on the To Market team for making that happen. And thanks to our local farmers and food producers. We're in awe of what you do and love partnering with you. Shop with us and become an owner if you're not already, to keep these powerful impacts happening.
And you also just had some good news, Grant, that you just hired a GM for your market, right?
That's right. Our very big exciting news is to have hired a fantastic general manager. That is, so in co-op land and co-op development, there are a few big milestones and holy grails. And one of them, of course, is finding your location, which the three of us all have. And for us, the next one was finding the right general manager. We recognize that our store needs to be a dense, urban, fast-paced, high-volume kind of grocery store, and needs a pretty particular kind of general manager. And our search turned up a more than qualified fellow named Dan Arnett, and we're super excited. About this time tomorrow morning, I will be orienting him. He begins tomorrow.
Wow. So, all right. And the news on your end, Scott. So tomorrow, you're bringing in your general manager, Grant. Scott, in 2 days, you're going to have the city of Woodstock annex the property that you guys have acquired.
That's correct. On Tuesday night this week, we're on the agenda with the city council to approve a zoning map amendment, first of all, and then annex us into the city, which allows us then to tap into the utilities, which is, we have to have that.
Well, what is it, was that the plan all along, or is this something new? And what does it mean to annex a parcel of land like that for a specific purpose?
Well, and plan all along since we bought this piece of land last October, I guess it was. We announced it in December, but yeah, this particular piece of land we bought, they call it a pocket parcel. It's surrounded by city on all four sides, but for whatever reason, it's a 1 acre piece of land that somebody didn't want to sell in the past or have annexed. So we bought it finally. We actually purchased it from the Mayo Clinic. I guess someone had gifted it to them, and we are going through the annexation process, which is really just a lot of bureaucracy and filling out forms and writing checks and grunt work, if you will.
Yeah. I would imagine some properties don't want to be annexed. You did. This is important step for you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think the city also has wanted this property to be annexed. It doesn't make sense to have it in the county surrounded by city on four sides. So they're pretty happy about it, I think.
Okay. And by the way, I should mention that Scott's the vice president and treasurer of the Food Shed Co-op in Woodstock, soon to be officially in Woodstock, Illinois. Kathy Nash is the co-founder and president of Prairie Food Co-op in Lombard, and Grant, as we're talking to, is the board president of Chicago Market, and he's the communications and marketing team lead. Let me play this from your outfit, Scott, and this involves some original music as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, we have a singer-songwriter here in the community and some local musicians that played on this and invited me to bring my banjo along to the party. But the singer-songwriter is Cassandra Vasudevan, who most people, if you're from McHenry County, have probably heard of her. She's a fabulous singer. And she wrote these lyrics, which is basically everything Grant said about co-ops.
All right, well, let's take a listen and a look.
Let's start with a real conversation about the food that we eat and the earth that provides. Let's talk about future generations and how to sustain them and help them to thrive. Let's talk about our local farmers who believe in tending the land. Let's talk with our neighbors and friends. Together we can take a stand. Join the food shed and let's make a difference with our time, with our hearts. Invest in our planet, invest in our town, invest in our own backyards. A community that we all share. Join the food shed and help us get there. Talk about giving our loved ones food that we trust from growers who care. Let's talk about our local artists, the builders, the makers, the dreamers everywhere. Let's talk about saving our environment and the small steps that we can all take. With the start of this simple conversation, together we can create change. Join the food shed and let's make a difference with our time, with our hearts. Invest in our planet, invest in our town, invest in our own backyards. A community that we all share. Join the food shed and help us get there.
And I'm going to do a little fade at this point that shows the map of the area in McHenry County. And that's a slick little video that your folks put together there, Scott.
Yeah,
Sign me up.
Makes me almost cry.
I'm sorry, you said it makes you cry almost when you watch that?
Almost. I mean, it just so nails the idea of this and the lyrics and my grandson's in it, so that's the other reason it makes me cry.
Well, there we go. There we go. I should have known.
Future generations.
Okay, we are talking to folks from Prairie Food Co-op and the Food Shed Co-op and Chicago Market. We need to take a short break here, but when we get back, Kathy, we're going to get to you because your outfit also has a little video that they've put together. So we will take a look at that as well and discuss. And what we're going to, and I'd love to have questions from the folks who are watching today. I don't know, Peggy, what you're seeing out there. But there's, as great an idea as it is food co-op, there's difficulties in putting it together, and I want to address some of those as well when we come back. It's the Mike Nowak Show with Peggy Malecki, and we shall be right back. At this time of year, we spend a lot of time indoors with our plants, so help them thrive. The plants you're viewing were treated with Leafzyme, a foliage spray designed to activate beneficial microbes already present on the leaves. A spritz every few weeks promotes growth-enhancing microorganisms that process dust and other particles into nutrition that indoor plants can absorb through their leaves for beautiful and vigorous growth. Go to blazing-star.com and check out their BioGarden line for home gardeners.
At Sitka Salmon Shares, we take pride in being a seafood company that's a little different. In fact, 10 seasons ago, our motto was "We do salmon differently." Nowadays, we harvest 15 species of wild-caught Alaskan fish, but still call ourselves Sitka Salmon Shares because, well, we're a little different. Our difference starts with our fleet of fishermen who own a slice of the company and are paid above industry average. They deliver fish to our docks in about half the time as other fishermen, which means higher quality of fish for you. And we never buy our fish from large processors where we don't know how each fish was caught or handled, like most other companies do. Another difference is our fish plant, which we own too. Our plant freezes fish about twice as cold and twice as fast as the other guys. This produces unparalleled quality at a cellular level. Ooh. Our difference extends to you too. By joining our community, you band together with thousands of other people who want to make a difference in the way that their food is produced. This allows our fishermen to harvest fish just for you, with the respect, thought, and care that the fish, the ocean, and you deserve. So, be a little different. Join us at SitkaSalmonShares.com.
You can help slow climate change in 2021 by composting, and you don't even need a backyard. By composting communally in multi-unit buildings across Chicagoland, Collective Resource Compost has diverted 7,000 tons of food scrap since 2010. CRC brings you a fresh 5-gallon bucket or a 32-gallon neighbor tote with each pickup. You fill it with organic matter, they swap it out, and get it to a commercial composting operation. Fight climate change. Go to collectiveresource.us.
And welcome back, everybody. I was just looking at the folks watching us today, and hi to everybody out there. We're kind of almost coast to coast there.
Yeah, we've
Peggy.
got Ernest in Portland.
Portland, Oregon.
Portland, Oregon, and then we've got
Kathy Ashley
Kathy
Fox from Bethlehem
Food Co-op
in Pennsylvania, and Harvard, Illinois is represented here. I was also looking at Nancy Bender, and I just had hers. Oh, a proud owner in the Wild Onion Co-op,
Wild Onion.
Chicago's North Side. So this is in Chicago. Now that's interesting. I thought maybe you can help me with this, Grant. I thought the only food co-op in Chicago operating right now was the Dill Pickle. So
yes. So what's our landscape look like? Chicago. So back to something Kathy said earlier, which is there aren't a lot of co-ops in the area, so people aren't as familiar with them. And a region like Minneapolis, St. Paul has 12 or 14 of them. So you don't have to start your conversation explaining what a co-op is. In Chicago proper, we have the Dill Pickle, the only open operating co-op. We also have the Sugar Beet out in Oak Park. So we have 2 open co-ops in our region. But then there are a bunch of us in startup mode, like the 3 of us here, Wild Onion on the north side of Chicago, Austin Community Food Co-op on the west side, as well as Southside Food Co-op are also organizing. There are folks out in kind of the Elgin area organizing. Am I missing anybody, Kathy or Scott? That's
Rockford and Whitewater and
right. So
there's
there
a co-op
are more
in
of us
Urbana.
coming.
Yeah, well,
we're going to get people used to the idea, and co-ops work together and help each other grow and support each other. And those all in Minneapolis, St. Paul area are not at each other's throats and competing. They all work together and share information and make the co-op scene as strong as it is. And we hope to be, a part of making Chicagoland scene a lot stronger.
Is it particularly strong in Minneapolis area, or are other parts of the country also strong?
That's a great example of a huge volume of them. But the Seattle, Portland area has some of them, has a bunch of them. In some cases, more than one store. Yes, there are a few in Wisconsin. Willie Street.
Thinking of the Outpost, for example.
Outpost. Viroqua has a fantastic co-op. So, yes, varies. But
here
kind of weaker in Chicago for the size that we are, and we could certainly support
how
more.
do you account for that? Anybody got any ideas on it? Is just an idea whose time had not arrived in Chicago?
One thing I've heard about that, and I don't know if Kathy and Grant know about this, but Wisconsin and Minnesota have a lot of population that descended from or arrived from Scandinavia. And Scandinavians by nature tend to be more communal in their living and more cooperative in their living structures. And that's one explanation I've heard about that.
Wasn't there also, and I could be mistaken on this, the Illinois co-op laws were very difficult for a while?
Yes, they're getting better, and of course there are other co-ops in Illinois. There's
in what
Bloomington
way?
And Champaign, and there used to be a cap. The cap on what ownership could cost was really, really low, and was stuck there since like 1915 or something. Some states allow co-ops to be nonprofits. In Illinois, that's not the case. So our business structure will always be a for-profit business. So that makes chasing grant funding harder because you're not inherently nonprofit.
Yeah,
doesn't make it impossible, but it makes it more challenging.
Why would there be that prohibition on being a not-for-profit? That just seems makes things more difficult. As you said, you can't go out and get grants.
Right. Co-ops are values-driven and operate in this way that's kind of between being a for-profit and a nonprofit. So even though we're legally a for-profit in the state of Illinois, we definitely like to make sure people understand we act a lot more like a nonprofit. Our values driven and that sort of thing.
Well, it's kind of like my show. Theoretically, I'm an LLC that's a for-profit, but if you look at the bank account, there's not a lot of profits in all of this. So
no grants other than the one that's on the show.
And I don't want that to happen. Well, okay, we'll give you a ding for that. I don't want that to happen to you guys. So, and I notice Kathy Ashley Fox, who's in Pennsylvania, she said the startup Bethlehem Food Co-op just signed a lease, had a site announcement, and we are in the silent phase of our capital campaign. Great show, thank you. We appreciate that. But this is what, if you're looking at co-ops in Illinois, they're all in this phase. They're getting people together. They're convinced. You're trying to get enough members to reach critical mass, and for each, it's different. Yours, I noticed, Grant, your critical mass for membership is much higher than what Kathy and Scott are looking at. Is that just because of the expense of working in Chicago?
That's part of it. Those numbers are financial based, right? So that ownership is part of what, not all by any means, but part of what funds the store. And yes, our target is 3,500 owners as of some reassessment we did last summer. And that's financial planning. That's a dollar amount we need to get to. It also represents a strong shopper base when you open. It means that people are going to be there, right? And the bank that's going to lend to us wants to see that as well. The bank wants to see a lot of us invested, and they want us to know that they're going to come in and shop. So those are the reasons for that.
Scott,
and yes, everybody's planning is a little different.
Yeah.
And we all just have to figure out what our formula is.
Scott, I was going to say, what are your numbers? What are you looking at and hoping to get to by when?
We are looking for 1,200 owners by July, and we are currently at 915 or so as of today. But we were at 720 on December 11th when we announced the site. So like I think I said earlier, we've grown almost 200 since announcing in December. So there's a lot of momentum right now.
And wait till you see the bump you get from this show.
Yeah, great.
Yeah. And Kathy, what about you?
Our goal for launching the capital campaign, which we're in right now, was 1,300 owners, and we are surpassed that now. But we are hoping to have around 2,000 by the time the store opens, which is still about 2 years away because the store needs to be built.
It's just so amazing to talk to all of you and know that when you jump into this, it's going to be years. Might be a decade before you're actually up and running, and yet here you are chugging away. So let me take a look at the market, Prairie Food Market video here. Kathy, I want to show folks what you're doing out in Lombard. Here we go.
We never dreamed that we would have this location when we first started. I mean, this is the premier site. We're actually standing right where the entrance will be. It feels really amazing. It's huge. I mean, this whole perimeter here is going to be our grocery store.
It looks so much bigger when we're here now, too.
It does. It's exciting.
Prairie Food Co-op has reached an exciting new milestone. We have secured a location and have signed a lease for our community-owned grocery store. This is the site, right here in downtown Lombard, that will house our beautiful, brand new community-owned grocery store. A store that will generate local jobs, offer local sustainable food options, and keep money in our community.
You know, the thing I love about the Prairie Food Co-op is that it's a community-based organization, and it's going to help support our own community directly. We can have impact.
I think that this is a really important piece of continuing to revitalize downtown Lombard.
Food co-ops have been proven to recirculate more money into the local economy.
We want to support local. We want to know where our food comes from.
It's going to be a huge impact to Lombard and the DuPage County community.
So please, join us in celebrating and helping reach our next milestone of opening our doors.
Woohoo! Very nice. Again, let's give a ding out to the folks at Prairie Food. Tell me a little bit about putting that video together and your outreach campaign, Kathy.
Sure. I am not the head of the outreach team, so my husband does that, and we have a fabulous volunteer who also happens to be, in cinematography, who has volunteered to help make some of these videos that we have. We have more on our websites, and he has a drone and professional equipment and really did a great job of putting something together and trying to draw the picture of what the future store will look like on an empty piece of property near downtown Lombard, which used to house a theater that got torn down about a decade ago. And the community has really been vocal about wanting to see something developed there that's impactful for the community. So we're really excited because we feel like the co-op is that piece of impactful development coming to the center of town.
Fantastic. All right. I mentioned before the break that it's difficult from the get-go just to put something like this together. And there are other questions about food co-ops, and if you read any of the articles about them, if you do some research, and you can even go to my blog and see some of the stuff I posted there. One of the suggestions is that food co-ops are more expensive than other supermarkets.
To shop at, you mean?
Right. Not to build, right. But to shop at, that it costs more to go to those stores. How do you counter that argument? Anybody can jump in with this.
I mean, I can jump in. I think it depends, right? So the cool thing about food co-ops is they are reflective of the values of the community in which they operate. So our community happens to be opening a food co-op because we value local and sustainably produced foods, and we want that more accessible year round. And if people know much about farming and what it takes to farm in a sustainable manner, it's not going, a gallon of milk is not going to cost the same if it's organically and sustainably produced. And there are a lot of creative ways you can price your products so that you can keep prices of organic, sustainably produced food more in line with other products by, increasing margins on some of the other products. So there's a lot of things that we're not quite there yet with product planning because we're still in our development phase. And someone else on the call, Grant, might be able to answer that a little bit more eloquently. But, co-ops really, really range. And, our location is center of town. So we know that we have a dual mission of not only providing better access to locally produced food, but we also want to be a convenient place for people who maybe those aren't their number one values. They just want a grocery store in their neighborhood. So we are operating with two different sets of value-based shoppers. And so, that's a challenge for us as we start, down our store planning, which we haven't started yet, but that is something top of mind for us.
And social justice is also a component of this, and I imagine you're nodding there, Scott. Part of it, why people join, is the social justice aspect, and it means, I guess, to a lot of folks, it's healthier food and supporting local economy, supporting local farmers, that sort of thing, and that I imagine helps you sell your food shed.
Yeah, if price is the number one driver for you when you go shopping for food, we're probably not your place. You're better off going to Walmart or Amazon or Costco or someplace like that. If price is important, maybe down to number 3 or 4 on your list of priorities when you shop for food, we may have something for you, because in addition to price, which we hope we're competitive on, at least on many items, we also value things like putting carbon into the atmosphere, and we think there's a cost associated with that. And so if you want to pay workers fairly, and, we hear stories about how workers are treated at some of these places I just mentioned, we might have something for you. If you care about building soil with local farming who cares about the health of the soil in your community and the topsoil that sustains life on this planet we live on, we might have something for you. But if price is all you care about, we're probably not your place.
That's a very good point. Something else that happens, one of the articles you'll see in my blog post is, it just happened the other day, and I wasn't even aware of it till I saw it in the news. One of the places I shop is the Dill Pickle in Logan Square, Dill Pickle Co-op, and as we mentioned, it's the only operating co-op right now. Their workers...
It's on Milwaukee Avenue.
Yeah, Milwaukee and basically Kimball and Diversey. And their workers have been doing an informational picketing there. I mean, these are issues too that happen to co-ops. They're not immune from these kinds of things, and it's been, as I mentioned earlier, last year some co-ops were doing very well during the pandemic, and then the owner of the Dill Pickle says, well, that kind of dropped off. We're in crisis mode here, and yet the workers are claiming that they're having issues with management, so they haven't struck. They're just doing informational picketing on their own time to raise awareness among the customers. That's something, obviously, that can come up in running a co-op. And Grant, I'm going to go to you because your co-op has been in local news recently because of an issue regarding a houseless person, and I guess that is, and that's interesting. And I went and looked it up. I saw you guys
explanation of the term. Yes.
Yeah, houselessness. I guess that is the new way of referring to people who don't have their own homes. It used to be homeless, and the idea, house is not a home, and home is what you make of it. So you have a houseless person in the parking lot, and that has caused some consternation in your neighborhood. And that's part of the issue too, because you're reaching out to local people. And I'm going to say, go out on a limb here and say your neighborhood is a little bit more diverse than McHenry County and DuPage County. So can you explain a little bit about what happened and how you're working on this issue?
Sure. And we know we're in that kind of a diverse neighborhood. And back to that pricing question too, we know we need to do some things to fit into the community and work to be price appropriate where we can.
And so, you're in the uptown neighborhood.
We're in uptown. So I should say we're on the north side of Chicago. We have owners all across, in a broad swath across the north side of the city. And as I mentioned, we have a parking lot. We expect to be a draw. We want people shopping from far and wide, but we know we're situated. We know where our store is. It's in Uptown, right? And we have taken possession of the building. The CTA owns it. And as you say, there are a couple of members of the community who have been living in our parking lot. And we did what we thought was good outreach and working with social service agencies to get some help, and felt in our minds that we'd use those resources. But what we're learning from the community members, and this is a value of co-ops, is that they do listen to the community, learn from their owners, learn from the community in ways that your average big business, your other store just is not going to do. The comment box at a co-op store has more weight than in other stores. And as a board, we are beholden to listen to owners. So we're listening and learning right now a lot, and working to grow to be more equitable in our response to the folks in our parking lot and try to find a solution for them. We've done some outreach now to social service agencies that we know we should have reached earlier, but we didn't see that, and now we do. Our community has helped us see that, and so we're doing the best we can to be equitable and humane, while also balancing that we have insurance and a building that we have to take care of for the CTA, and those are tough. That's a tough place to be as a co-op right now. So we're doing our best by it.
Yeah, and it's kind of a thing that it seems you were blindsided by, and those, and you look at, as I mentioned, the dill pickle. I'm sure they didn't expect their workers to go out and strike, but these are all issues. This is all about being a business, isn't it?
Sure, that's right. That's right. It's a values-driven business, and you assume that carries the day, and you're trying to live your values as a business for the shoppers and owners that come there. But that doesn't mean that there aren't big question marks and big challenges that come up that you have to figure out how to address as a board or as a GM once your GM's on board. And so, yes.
Yeah, and I will be honest and say I've been to your site. I've been to the Facebook page. It's been pretty heated on there. There are people who want to have nothing to do with you, and there are people who say thank you for working on this and trying to fix the problem and to get better at listening to the community. And I guess that's what it's about. It's all of you, whether it's Kathy or Scott or Grant, have to listen to the community if you're going to be a community-supported venture.
Yes.
So have you encountered any problems like that, Scott or Kathy, in your ventures?
No. Quite.
It's a different.
No, I don't think we're far enough along, though. Grant's a little further ahead of Kathy and the Prairie Food Co-op and us at the Food Shed Co-op.
Mm-hmm.
Some different things come up when you suddenly have possession of your store. You have to take care of it. Yeah, we had to hire somebody to snowplow, and it cost us a bunch this year because it snowed a lot.
Have maintenance done now.
Yeah, maintenance. We have to take care of the building, and so lots of business level things start to happen once you get to that next step of, you've signed a lease and you have the space, or you're building or whatever you're doing.
Yeah, and you're not even bringing in food yet.
Well, that's what your little video shows. We do feel true that we're not an open grocery store, but we do like, back to the point of organizing and the time it takes. Kathy talked about that. That's an average. National average is 7 to 10 years to start a co-op. So it's really hard to sustain people's interest and keep people excited over that period of time. So the shop initiative that we kicked off last year, which you showed the video for, thank you, is about that, helping our farmers, but also connecting our people to those farm goods. And you order online and pick up once a month in our store right now. So it's a step toward having goods available for people.
And I should mention that you're going to win an award for your initiative.
Well, we are nominated.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Startup innovator.
Sorry.
Yes. We don't know yet. We're nominated. We're super proud of that and excited to be nominated.
So we have our hands over the dinger. You just don't have it yet.
Yeah,
that's right.
Can't give you
check with me in May.
I'm sorry. I apologize for getting that wrong. All right. Before we let you guys go, all right. First of all, Scott, are you going to bring out the banjo or not?
Oh, geez. Well,
he's got it right there.
Love it.
Can you hear that?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
How about that?
All right. All right, you get a few dings there. Thank you so much. I hate to put you on the spot. What have we missed? What have I missed here about putting all this together that folks need to know about? I mean, we told people that it takes a long time. You're recruiting all the time. It's there's going to be a payoff somewhere down the road in terms of the quality of the products that you can present in your neighborhoods. What have I missed here? Anything? I guess not. I'm perfect.
Co-ops are cool.
Okay.
They're like cool.
Oh.
Like Kathy said, they're just fun. It's a place to gather and see your friends. I think Kathy said that. And I totally agree with that. And that's what I'm hoping ours is a place where we can go for respite in our community, get away from our screens and turn off the evening news and go engage with our neighbors and have some fun and buy some food and support our community.
I think that's a really, really good point because the big box stores are not the place that you go to hang out and be with your buddies. It's to run in there and grab something and then run back out. One more thing I have to mention, Kathy. I told you I would give you a plug. You're actually running for office, aren't you?
I am running for York Township trustee. Yep.
And when
vote on Tuesday. Make sure everybody votes.
It's this Tuesday.
Exercise your democratic right to choose your locally elected officials.
If you live in York Township.
Yes. I don't know if Chicago and when are your elections are not Tuesday?
No, not that. No, there's nothing going on here.
A lot of the municipalities though have. No, there's municipalities up here in Lake County too. I know for sure with elections coming up.
See, I had no idea that any of these elections were coming up because
that's the signs on my lawn.
Nice.
Right. You know what? I did see something about that recently about the signs that were out in the various communities.
Cynthia says elections in McHenry County. She just posted as well.
Okay. So there you go. Well, Grant Kessler, Scott Bricks, Kathy Nash, thank you so much. For folks who want to go to those co-ops and take a look at what they have to offer, obviously the websites are right under their names there on the screen. Yes, point. But you could also, it's basically take the name of it like foodshed.coop or chicagomarket.coop or prairiefood.coop. You can also find it at my website on the blog, MikeNovak.net. I appreciate all of you being here today, and I'm just wishing you all luck. This is a hard thing to do, and kudos to you for giving it a go.
Our pleasure. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Peggy.
Thank you so much for hosting
Thank you.
us. It's really nice.
And thank you for taking time out on Easter Sunday to be with us. All right, it's the Mike Nowak Show with Peggy Malecki. When we come back, we're talking green architecture.
The best thing about my job is the excitement of waking up every morning just wondering what the challenges are going to be that day.
So how do you like my office?
We lead with safety. It's the first thing that I think about when I wake up. It's the last thing I think about when I go to bed.
We've got a number of employees in the office, myself included, who've been around for 10, 15 plus years. So people enjoy working for the company. Staff retention's a thing that we're very, very keen on.
It's no secret that the world of arboriculture is a male-dominated industry, but there is a fearless group of women out there that are determined to change that, and I'm really proud to be one of those women.
At my office, I feel like you could take just about anyone, put a crew together, and send them out to a job and have it be successful. And that has to do with trusting the people you work with, feeling safe around them, and knowing their strengths and weaknesses.
One of the proudest moments working with Bartlett for me was being the first to do training in a Spanish class.
Ya rompe el screen porch, el aire acondicionado.
Bartlett is all about promoting from within. We really want to focus on our people and make sure that they're trained, make sure that they understand their role, and you slowly grow through your experience, and then you improve and move on to different roles within the company.
There's always new positions, even at a base level, myself included. I started off as a climber and have worked my way through to being local manager in the office.
Bartlett has been really great about recognizing any kind of roadblocks for different genders, different races, people of different nationalities, and just kind of taking a bulldozer to all of those roadblocks.
Every tree needs a champion.
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 Welcome to the Mike Nowak Show with Peggy Malecki. Green, gardening, and environment radio with just a soupçon of humor. Or is that a dash? Brought to you by Bartlett Tree Experts. Every tree needs a champion. Go to bartlett.com. Here they are again, Peggy Malecki and Mike Nowak.
All I need is good food to eat and make me healthy, wealthy, wide awake. Lettuce, tomatoes, rutabaga. What about those sweet potatoes? All I need is good food to eat. All I need is good food to eat. All I need is good tools to make me music, porches, lawn serene. Give me all that I can take.
Okay.
Hello.
Hello.
Oh, there we are.
No, there we are. But we don't need that. Let's go to this, and let's go to that, which will be, yes, the magic of video. And I also want to bring in, okay. Oh, I know what I was going to do. See, I almost forgot that I've got a new setup here. And see, I need to, so to do that, I need to put this in here. And then...
Ooh.
And then watch this. This, I hope this works. And Nate's looking like he's not so sure. But okay, now let's just get us out of the way. And there we go. There's our 3-shot.
Wow.
This is
except Nate's muted.
Oh, sorry, Nate. Let's bring your audio up. There you go.
All right. The
All right.
teleporter worked.
Yes, it did work. Welcome back to the Mike Nowak
Yes,
Show.
you've been teleported.
Yes, exactly. And that's our buddy Nate Kipnis. He's the founder and principal of Kipnis Architecture Plus Planning in Evanston, Illinois. You're also in Boulder, and you say Boulder, and of course the news headlines that must have shocked you as much as anybody else.
Yeah, that's just crazy beyond belief. And of all the cities to have, no city should ever have that, but Boulder in particular just really freaks me out. I did go to undergrad there, and we've got an office there now, and yeah, it's horrifying. The people there, it's a very close-knit community. And one of the very interesting stats is typically Boulder is the largest city in the country without a murder. I mean, obviously this is off the chart, but it's that kind of a town where everyone knows everyone kind of thing. And maybe not everyone, but
yeah.
Anyway, very tough.
And I'm so sorry. But it's nice to know that your business is expanding. And do you have plans to go into other cities as well?
Oh, if Boulder works out, which I can't believe it wouldn't, it would be kind of fun to continue the Evanston, Boulder, every liberal college town kind of tour. Let's see what happens. Do Austin and Ann Arbor, and who knows? I mean, that's where my work kind of resonates, I think.
Really? Well, I guess that makes sense. And how did you? I mean, Chicago. Well, you're in Evanston, so that is obviously a college town. But when I think of Evanston, I think it's actually part of Chicago because it has. No, not so much. Okay.
It's its own little city. I mean, I love that part of it. That's same thing with Boulder. It's not Denver. It's Boulder, and Evanston is its own city. I live and work there. We just moved back, and it's funny. When we moved in, we were like, oh, let's go to Potbelly's. We didn't even have the kitchen set up, and let's drive there. No, it's like 2 blocks away. It's everything's right there. You do not need to. It's beyond walkable. It's great for that. Yeah.
Well, I'm noticing the sign behind you before we dig into the main topic. I'm a citizen architect. We talk a lot about citizen science on this show. What is a citizen architect? I'm
on some national committees with the AIA. I'm currently on the Committee on Climate Action and Design Excellence, which is a really nice committee to be on. And it's just trying to, interact with government policy, I think is really the aspect of that. And it's really encouraging. We do work one house at a time and we make it as great as we can, but to have an impact on 95,000 members of the AIA and then have that impact on the entire country, it's a really nice thing to be a part of.
And that's the National American Institute of Architects, is the AIA.
Correct. Yep.
Right.
Yep.
And we were talking the other day, and you were telling me about their initiative, Blueprint for Better. And obviously you talk about having an influence on architects, but architects, of course, have an influence on climate change and the way we build our structures. And that seems to be your major focus at the moment.
Buildings are 40% of the CO2 and even more of the electric use in the country. And so it has a huge impact. And I think we talked before about, the role I was on the 2030 commitment, trying to get buildings to be net zero by 2030. So I was part of the founding committee on that back in 2009, and we've been making great progress on that. And the Blueprint for Better is not only about climate change, it's about racial justice and how buildings impact that, and it's about wellness. This past year has been just crazy, obviously, with everything that's been going on with those 3 topics. And AIA is very focused on that right now, which is really, really encouraging. And has been for quite a while. This isn't a new thing.
Yeah. But we'll explain that part of it, how you improve racial equity through greener design.
Well, minority populations tend to bear the brunt of where power plants are located and brownfields and, all of that kind of stuff. And here in Chicago, we had, the Crawford coal plant?
Yeah.
I'm remembering the name right.
There were 2. There was a Fisk and the Crawford.
Right.
And then the Crawford, there's been additional problems because the Crawford was torn down. And
in the middle of the night. Right.
Well, it wasn't in the middle of the night, but there was very little notice given to the little village community. Yeah. And it came down, and this dust cloud of who knows what permeated.
Very toxic.
Yeah.
That was lined with the fly ash of decades of coal. And so this is kind of the thing where how the environment and environmental aspects and what people's economic levels intersect, and how we as architects can help with that, which is getting rid of using fossil fuels. I mean, that's really the key thing. Right now, there's so many toxic materials that come from producing power that isn't renewable. And so one by one, those coal plants are coming down, and every day the grid is getting greener. We're getting more wind on it, more solar. It's coming down in price every single day. It's the cheapest power right now, period. And who would have thought?
And a lot of your designs are bringing in all electrical appliances and getting rid of gas appliances.
Because of that thinking, that really electricity is the currency of renewable energy, and you have to go all electric to cash that in, to really be at the forefront of that. So we're trying to do all of our buildings as best we can. We have a number of them done now that are all electric. So what that typically means, there's 4 things in a house that typically use natural gas. And it's actually, I don't even like calling it natural gas, it's methane. We should stop calling it natural gas.
A really good
cute
point.
little name they came up with. It's methane, all right?
Well, words have power, and that's how we have to get past that. And you're right. I think at any time anybody says natural gas now, just say, oh, you mean methane?
You mean stinky methane. Yeah.
Right.
So, but there's 4 things, and so that is the mechanical system. That's the the dryer, the water heater, and the cooktop. So what we do is either air source or ground source heat pump. So that's mini split systems or geothermal. Those are all electric. And then the water heater and the dryer are heat pump technology, which is really cool, works great. And then the cooktop is an induction cooktop. So when I mention that to clients, sometimes I get some eye rolling, because that's the thing that really, like, no, I need my methane cooktop. But we bring them to the GE Monogram showroom and have the chef there cook us a meal on the induction cooktop and explain what he's doing and how easy it is and how fast it is. And it's amazingly efficient. So, and the other thing is, when you design a really energy efficient home, you're making it super tight. So why would you then start burning gas in the house? Methane with nowhere really good for the fumes to. It's a very bad combination. So typically high performance homes are not going to want, not typically, they just do not want to have a gas cooktop.
And this is something. Oh, go ahead, Peggy.
Go ahead. No, I was just going to say, we've got somebody who's stuck around from last hour's show, the chair of Food Shed Co-op. She says she's gathering information to build as green a store as possible.
Happy to help.
So electrical into the stores as well for everything.
Yeah. I mean, stores are a different scale. They're a different complexity. Those co-ops, their big thing is the refrigeration loads. They have just such huge amounts of refrigeration. So one of the things you can think about, refrigeration dumps heat, takes heat out and makes cold. And in the winter, you can reuse that heat in the building. So there's a way to kind of co-produce that, where you can use the waste and use it again, and make use of it.
I was just going to say that you made me become aware of the possibilities of electricity to power things. And of course, then, and rightly so, people will note that if you're using electricity, it's got to be coming from somewhere. So this is another reason why we need to have green power producing our electricity. In the old days, it was a trade-off, because if it's coming from a coal plant, that was polluting as well. But now we can change that paradigm. I was interested in, to back up a little bit, when you were talking about the washer dryer and the technology used to power and heat those things. What was it, the concept of that again?
Well, they're air source or ground source heat pumps. Everything is like heat pump technology. So this is very different than your father's, grandfather's electric heating or electric dryer. Those are old school where it's just electric resistance. This is heat pump technology is actually looking for heat. So even at minus 20 degrees or worse, there's heat in the air. If you understand the Kelvin scale, it goes down to absolute zero. There's a lot of heat still in the air. It's air conditioning reversed. Like, my God, how do you make cold air out of when it's so hot? Same thing. You're just flipping it. And the thing actually runs both directions. So it's instead of, and I don't want to go too deep dive here, but instead of 1 unit of power making 1 unit of heat, this thing takes 1 unit of power and makes 3 units of heat. So it's way more efficient than just resistance heating. And
is this something? So for those of us with older homes, is this something that can be easily retrofitted, or is this a very expensive for an older home versus new construction?
Yeah, I was thinking about that because I know most of, a lot of your listeners and viewers. I know we talk about this too.
Yeah, because I had my house retrofitted, insulated, but a remarkable job. I mean, I look at these conversations through different eyes now. A year down the road from having the insulation finished on my home, insulated, and mainly it was the insulation. Ron Cowgill from DNR Services Unlimited, and Mighty House Home Improvement Radio, came in, and his goal. And he's got these videos out. You can go to the Mike Nowak Show on Facebook and see some of the video, or just go to Mighty House and you can see the videos he's done. His goal was to prove that insulating a home is going to be more efficient than putting in new windows. And he basically proved it with my home, because that's where the heat was radiating out. Windows added a little bit at the end. It was the cherry on the sundae. But really, it was all that insulation he did, blowing in the cellulose into the walls and doing a really top-notch job. And it's changed our lives here. Now, the windows were part of it, too, because not only is the drafts have been eliminated, the heat is no longer escaping, the sound things are quieter in the house. I mean, it just changes your life in ways that you cannot imagine. But you don't do a lot of that, do you? Or how much retrofitting do you do?
We do. I mean, on my business, we're coming up on our 28th year, and I mean, we started here in Evanston. There's no vacant lots here, so it was a lot of rehab, and there's not a lot of vacant lots in Chicago. So a lot of our work is rehab work. But if you look at our website, you'll see we do a lot of really cool new homes. But there are definitely challenges with an existing home. And what you just mentioned about the insulation, I agree with that, but I also want to make clear that you do this as a system. So the insulation and the windows really need to be done simultaneously, or really close to simultaneously, because the heat really doesn't care. It definitely slowed down because you've got the good insulation in now, but you need to get the entire unit. So it's the insulation and it's the windows, and then it's also following closely on that's the mechanical system, because now you've just changed the loads in that house, the thermal loads, and so you'd need to look at a mechanical system. So the trick is with electrical, you're not going to have a gas line there, but now you may need a larger electric line.
Yeah.
So this is one of the challenges.
Bigger service brought in.
Yes, if you have a 100 amp service, you very likely, if you do a mini split and induction cooktop, you're going to have to up that to 200, and depending on the size of the house, it could even be to 400.
Ah, yeah.
And just real quick, so the mechanical system, they do make these mini splits that basically look just like a forced air system that would fit into ductwork. I mean, you're going to need to have a mechanical engineer or a really good mechanical contractor verify that. But it is possible to swap it out and put in that system, so you could reuse the ductwork. But you need to check that. That's not a given.
Yeah, there's when you've got a 130-year-old home,
right.
You've gone a long way down one road, and it's kind of hard to back up.
Yeah,
maybe 2 roads with the coal chute and everything. I mean, it's been a while.
So what else is being What else do you see in eco homes and future of eco homes? What else are you designing in at this point?
Well, I think the system that we like to do is what I discussed with the tight shell, and then the equipment being all electric, and then we want renewable energy on site. So that's going to be solar panels. Do not start thinking of urban wind. That is just not going to work. There's a whole bunch of reasons why. Wind is a commercial scale thing, and we had proposed many years ago about an offshore wind farm in Evanston, which I think is still a great idea. But so you want electric coming in, and either all of it, or you want some portion that then is mixed with the electrical, obviously coming from the grid. You want to have electric cars. So you want to pre-wire, or if you have an electric car, wire your garage for an electric charger. And then the other thing, the kind of cherry on the top, like you said, is the battery backup system. So when you can put that in, the panels obviously don't work at night, but you can top off the battery, and the battery can interface with the utility and make sure it's working. It's really smart technology now that's really inexpensive to do. Batteries are not super cheap yet, though, so I'm going to point that out. They are dropping in cost how solar panels were several years ago, so they are coming down in cost. So if you're doing work, make sure you leave room for that if you can't afford it right now.
We're getting some comments here that are very interesting, and then I've got a couple of photos here of some of your work, Nate, that I want to get to. But we had Zan say, eventual efficiency is great. I just don't have the $25,000 to do all this stuff, and never will. And she's right. I was able to do it in my own home because Kathleen and I qualified for a grant from the city. All right, it was because of the 606 line and the property values that went up, and they were trying to keep people in the neighborhood and stay here. So my Alderman Roberto Maldonado from the 26th Ward was one of the people who came up with this idea of let's get some grant money out to people in the neighborhood to upgrade their homes. And we qualified. And we even had to survive a lottery. So we qualified, and then there was a lottery, and we got through that, and we've got the money to do it. And I couldn't have afforded it either, because I had talked about this for years, and I knew that this is what needed to be done. So I was that's, as I have said, that's when government works. That is the. And you're nodding there, Nate, and I hope you agree. This is how government can do good things for citizens.
So here's the thing. Every kind of decision, like you've mentioned a few decisions you've done on your house. So every time there's a decision being made, you come to a fork in the road, and you want to make an educated decision. And you got to weigh the economics of it, obviously. But there's also potentially ways to set stuff up for future install. So either you will get, maybe your situation, you have more money down the line, there's more government funding, or the product comes down in cost, or all three of those. And I know there's going to have to be, I'm not a politician, but there's going to have to be assistance as we make this shift away from fossil fuels, because not everyone can afford this, and I understand that.
Well, and that, so you must be encouraged or are rooting for this infrastructure bill that is being proposed, because a lot of this will happen in that legislation, I hope.
I can't point the right way. Yes, citizens architect right there. That's, yes, definitely rooting for that.
Yeah.
That's looking like it's going to clean up the grid a little more, and just keep encouraging renewable energy. And I'm hoping at some point that turns into assistance for homeowners too. There's always some programs available, but some of these things are big dollars, and I understand that.
And Sandra writes, thermal break between the window and the wall assembly, need to address that. And Ron Calgill, who did my work, wrote, it is more cost effective to air seal and insulate than to spend money on windows. Air seal and insulate first, that's what he says.
Yeah, I mean, if you have to pick one thing, sure, do that. But you got to, at some point, wrap it up correctly.
Yeah, you got to do it all. But if you just replace the windows without fixing all the air leaks,
that's not going to do much. Because the heat is much smarter than you think. It's just going to go phooey. I'm not going through here. I'm going to just go right around.
That way. They want that way. Yeah.
let's take a look at this.
See these photos here.
Yeah, I hope I set this up right. If I did, I'll scramble here. But yeah, I did. Look at that. Okay, what do we got here, Nate?
So that is Evanston's first LEED Platinum home. We finished that 2.5 years ago. It's all electric. It's a tremendous amount of recycled material in this one. The exterior is made from Boral siding, which is made from waste fly ash and Gorilla Glue. And then the whiter siding is cement fiberboard. And yeah, just a really nice home, nice size.
How many square feet?
I think that's 2,600 square feet.
Okay.
And you can see on top, if you look really carefully, you can see the edge of the solar panels on the butterfly roof. And then you can see the windows, those vertical windows way up high. Those are all on remotes. So one of the things we like to do is promote natural ventilation, natural daylighting, correct shading, and obviously good insulation and all these other things. But the natural daylighting, natural ventilation thing is zero cost for the most part, if you just do it right. So we really like to try and look at a site and look at its, what it offers. What's the orientation? What's the wind coming into the site? What other, noise? Sometimes when we do projects in urban environments, there's those windows on both sides of this. Well, you can open them on the quiet side or on the downward wind, upward wind, whatever trick you want to play. There's all sorts of little things that we can do, but we do think about that. Like, how are the acoustics going to be when you open these windows?
That's here's another thing you can think about. We got a comment from Audrey, and not surprising, she writes, green homes or businesses should not emit light pollution. One prerequisite for a green community is starlight. Technology and know-how exists today. We only lack the will. And I get the feeling this is something that's not thought of. This is so far down the list. And yet, I've got a neighbor who I love, 2 doors down, has got this big globe light that just sends light out into the sky every night, sort of randomly.
Hope they're not listening.
I hope they're not listening either. If you are, Obed, let's have a chat. Okay.
On different scale stuff, there is a lot of work with that. And actually, that's part of a LEED category is light pollution. So when you look at commercial parking lots, there's lights that have, I can't remember, it's like night light safe or something certified that is directing the light downward, and you want to have them on timers. And there's actually quite a bit of thought that goes into that. Yeah. On residential, it's a little trickier because it's not regulated like that.
And it should be. I mean, there are just so many things we don't think about. Light pollution, how are we protecting birds from collisions? All kinds of different things that need to go into architectural planning. Yeah,
the bird issue is quite interesting. So I get a lot of stuff in my email, and one of them is from Dwell magazine, and they just love promoting these glassy houses. And I keep writing in the comments, you have to stop promoting this. And I remember one of them was all mirrored glass in the woods. And I'm like, this is a bird killer. Why would you ever publish this? But there is some, I think it's just starting. You're seeing some stuff where there is some glass available that's got very fine fritting that the birds can see, but it's very expensive right now. And I'm just hoping with more use and more required use that the price starts coming down.
Somebody pointed to that house we had up there and said, that's Dana's house. One more, and then we're going to need to let you go. And where's this?
This one's in Glencoe, and this was the first LEED Platinum home we did. It was only the second LEED Platinum in Illinois. And if you look carefully, those are solar thermal panels on the back. Pretty obvious, but if you look carefully, you can see there's another set of a roof off to the left. That's the solar PV system. What's interesting here is I know the exact date this was shot. This was shot June 21st because the sun is completely shaded from the windows, and that was by design. So that was exactly June 21st that these photos were shot.
Right on the solstice.
Yep. Yes.
All right. Before we let you go, anything else you want to comment on that you're working on, or the AIA is working on?
Well, I'm just impressed with the level of work that the AIA is doing. I'm glad they let me tag along. It's an honor. But I want to mention Next House Alliance, which is a group that we've put together of, to go after higher end homes to make sure that they're done right. And I think that's a forgotten area. And people now are educated, they're ready, willing, and able to do this, and there's not too much help. So our tagline is visionary people building the future. And, so we're doing it at all different scales of work. And it's an exciting time. I'm glad the people can now rest easy and make long-term decisions now that our government has changed, and there's a big emphasis on sustainability. So it's very encouraging.
For 2 years anyway. We can count on 2 years, and maybe we'll see what happens after that.
Well, I think the economics now are to the point where, as much as someone might have said they wanted to save the coal industry, that's impossible.
Yeah.
The economics have turned now.
And by the way, folks can find links to Next House Alliance and the American Institute of Architects on my blog. And you also, Peggy, you have an article in Natural Awakening Chicago this month that features, there it is. And where should folks go for that, Peggy?
They can go to nachicago.com or pick it up at many local stores, Whole Foods, et cetera, et cetera.
And I lifted a couple of paragraphs from that for the blog post too, so maybe it'll
and the photos.
And the photos, right? And
it was nice working with you on that.
Great.
Thanks, Nate.
You guys are a team. And I guess we should throw Sue Markgraf into that too, who
yes,
was very helpful.
Who's the best.
So Nate, thank you so much. It's great seeing you. I love having you just come on and we just sort of chat about where things are going. Obviously, if there's ever an important issue, that's burning a hole in your brain and you need to get on the program, please let us know and we'll bring you back.
Thanks. Happy to do that.
Okay. It's the Mike Nowak Show with Peggy Malecki on this beautiful Easter Sunday. Rick DiMaio and weather and climate coming up next. You have the ability to give your soil a superpower. It's called composting. If you don't have a backyard, you need to contact Collective Resource Compost. CRC has diverted 7,000 tons of food scraps since 2010. They bring you a fresh 5-gallon bucket or a 32-gallon neighbor tote with each pickup. You fill it with organic matter from your kitchen, they swap it out and get it to a commercial composting operation. Fight climate change. Go to collectiveresource.us.
At this time of year, we spend a lot of time indoors with our plants, so help them thrive. The plants you're viewing were treated with LeafZyme, a foliage spray designed to activate beneficial microbes already present on the leaves. A spritz every few weeks promotes growth-enhancing microorganisms that process dust and other particles into nutrition that indoor plants can absorb through their leaves for beautiful and vigorous growth. Go to blazing-star.com and check out their BioGarden line for home gardeners.
From small boat fishermen to your dinner table with safe, free, no-contact delivery, Sitka Salmon Shares brings premium wild Alaska seafood to your door. They're a community-supported fishery offering shares just like your local CSA. All fish is wild-caught in season with respect for the limits of the ocean. Line-caught and traceable to their fleet. Use promo code NOVAC25 for $25 off the first month of a share. Go to sitkasalmonshares.com/NOWAK. And, look at this.
There he is.
On location.
Outside.
Holy smokes.
Hey.
Outside where? Where are you?
On my deck, my patio. Third floor.
Okay. Well, we'll see how well
sunglasses.
A little bit.
Right, yeah.
We'll see how well the internet holds up out there.
Elton John's. Got my Elton John's here. There we go. All right.
That's the pond in the back there. See that? No, the router is right over there, so I'll be all right.
Okay.
Okay, just don't disappear on us, please.
I hope not. So buona Pasqua to both of you.
And Gesundheit to you.
That means Happy Easter in Italian.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes, I know.
I figured it did.
I just wasn't coming up with
Just say happy Easter.
I don't know the response back in Italian.
Grazie. How's that?
Just say happy Easter to you as well.
Happy Easter to you as well.
Happy Easter, Rick.
Okay.
Didn't you guys go to Sunday school?
No.
I tried not to.
That's a line from Raiders of the Lost Ark when he's trying to explain to them everything about the Ark, and both FBI guys are going like this, and Indiana Jones go, "Didn't you guys go to Sunday school?" So that's where that came. That wasn't meant to be
snakes. Why did it have to be snakes?
Right, there you go. Anything but snakes.
Oh dear. Well, it's a good day to be outside, that's for sure.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. 71 degrees. We typically see our first 71 about the 26th of March at O'Hare and about the 5th or 6th of April at the lakefront. So that's kind of like right on cue. And I think what's really interesting is that the lake water temperature, I was checking this out the other day, guys, even though the average surface lake water temperature of Lake Michigan is 38 degrees, right along the Chicago shoreline, it's 48. And you're probably thinking to yourself, okay, is that above normal? Is that below normal? People don't really know about lake water temperature this early in the year. Going back to 1995, that's the third warmest it's ever been so early in the year. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Holy smoke.
We've got somebody asking actually where at the lake is it 71? It's 56 at the lake.
No. The air temperature yesterday was 71 degrees.
Yesterday. Okay. Yeah. So it's not right now for the person who's asking. It's yesterday.
No. Yeah, we were talking about the high. The high yesterday was 71, and even along the lakefront, it made it up all the way to 70 degrees. So
it was nice yesterday. Yeah.
Oh, it was beautiful. That's what happens when you got a nice southwest wind. But what's really remarkable, because after I said that thunderous, piece of information about why it's 48 degrees, usually I hear, why is it that way? So I'll just answer my own question that didn't come.
Why is it that way, Dr. Rick?
There you go. That's because we had a very little period of ice on the lake. And even though we had 48% of the Great Lakes covered, normally we get about 53%. We're learning more now how it's not so much the surface, but how much of that ice is actually deep. And because the ice was very, very thin, it was able to basically kind of melt and mix in with the water. And that's one of the reasons why it went away so fast. Also, we weren't ever really that cold. And because we never really got super cold, the depth of the cold water is much, much shallower than in years past. And what's really interesting is you look back at the amount of lake effect snow that didn't happen. I know, Mike, you have a family member up in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan.
Right.
Marquette, Michigan, 101 inches below normal snowfall. They normally see 185. They had 84 inches of snow. I don't think I've ever seen that. Yeah, that little snowfall up there. And again, that's also kind of points to the fact that we just had a lack of cold Arctic air this past winter.
I've got the.
And what effect will that? Oh, sorry.
Oh no, that's okay.
I was going to say, what effect will that have? That extreme of a lack of snow on the water table.
Yeah, the first thing it doesn't do is it doesn't evaporate as much water off the lake. So even though we had very little snowfall, and even though we had very little in the way of cold air, when you have a lot of cold air, obviously that develops into or produces lake effect snow. So even though the Great Lakes have actually come down quite a bit since the record high level or near record high level of last year, they're down almost a foot. So Lake Superior is down about 8 inches. Lake Michigan is down about 12 inches, which is good news compared to where we were this time last year, because you typically go up in the months of April and also May. And the lack of cold weather kind of didn't help that. If we would have had more cold weather, we would have brought those lake levels down even more. So to answer your question, Peg, the lack of Arctic air did not bring the lake level down lower than what we would have hoped. But nonetheless, it was dry and it was cold, so we did get some lowering of the levels.
All right, so what I was popping up here is something you sent us, and let's get that out of there, and that's the winter snowfall. And
seasonal snowfall, yeah.
Yeah, and so this is this doesn't show the departure from normal, does it?
No.
It just shows so even if you look at the Upper Peninsula, it's on the higher end, but much lower than it normally would have been in a given winter.
Yeah, and the reason why I said seasonal is because, it doesn't have to be winter to snow up in Marquette. It can snow in October, it can snow in November. It can snow in March, it can snow in April, yeah. I mean, it's odd. They'll get more snow in the UP in the non-winter months. In other words, they'll get in October, November, March, and April, even though we look at winter as, December, January, and February. But it's pretty amazing. Even though they're showing 85 inches up there, that should be a 185. Now, I'll try to see if I can dig up. Yeah, I'll try to see if I can dig up the departure from normal for snowfall. That'd be a little bit more difficult to get, but I think I could probably get it right. I think what's more alarming is the fact that when you look at the drought map, Mike, the one I sent you guys from yesterday.
Yeah, let me pop that up there. Okay.
This continues to be a developing story, not for the Midwest, not for Tennessee, which had almost 9 inches of rain over the last 2 weeks and all the terrible flooding. In fact, more people died due to flooding in Tennessee than they did with the tornadoes down in Alabama and also Georgia. But I've been monitoring a bunch of the smaller news outlets, the more regional climate centers out in the western United States, and they're all very, very concerned that they have gone through one of the driest winters on record. They went through one of the driest summers on record last year. The wildfire season is kind of right around the corner as far as how they look at it. And again, if we don't get anything substantial between now and the middle of May, which is only 5 weeks, it's literally we have 5 weeks to save the West. That should be like a Sunday morning headline. 5 weeks to save the West. We're going back into a very, very dry pre-summer pattern. And again, the precipitation during the summertime is always much more widely scattered. So when you look at that, you see the areas of Arizona, New Mexico, western Colorado, Utah, Nevada. I mean, this is serious stuff. And you take like your hand and you put it over that, and you can literally cover all of the Great Lakes and the Ohio Valley. So this is bad, and it's getting worse.
That is, and we've seen so many wildfires in the past few years with a setup like that. This is a recipe for those kinds of wildfires again this year, and maybe earlier than we usually get.
Yeah, and maybe earlier, because don't forget, you have a lot of trees that burnt last year, and when those trees burn, it's not like they go in there and they take them out. So now you have timber that's extremely dry that could easily go up. And I know Peggy wanted to ask something real quickly, but Mike, if you want to pop up the 7-day rainfall forecast, which I also sent you, as well as an update from this morning.
I think.
Yeah, there you go. There's nothing out west. Yeah, so this is going all the way into now into the middle of April, April 10th. So now we're down to 4 weeks. And the reason why I say that is typically when you get to the last couple of weeks of the month of May, it's really rare to get a big storm system that's going to sit out there for 2 or 3 days and produce a lot of rainfall. And definitely snow at this time of the year literally evaporates. But again, look at this, and we've been really dry around here. And even over the next 7 days, we may see about 1 inch to 1.5 inches of rain. All that's going to do is get us up to close to normal. So we're down 2 inches here. So even though we'll get some rain beginning Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, which I know a lot of farmers and gardeners would like, what we're seeing out here right now is about as good as it gets for Easter Sunday 2021.
Yeah, I was looking at that map, and I think a lot of folks have been fooled by the spring here, and they're not really quite. They don't understand quite how dry it has been in the Midwest. And you look at this map, you go, well, we're going to get the purples. The purples are coming in later in the week, but as you say, it's only a couple of inches.
Yeah, only, and if that, maybe 1.5 inches. Now, it doesn't mean it can change, but you look at the overall pattern, and we're still kind of in a split pattern. Systems going to the south of us, systems going to the north of us, and outside of that freaky, weird 3.5 week period that we called winter around here, It's been dry, and I don't think I've ever seen as much sun in the month of March. So I like to go through the March outlook or the March review, and that's something else that I think is kind of bodes well to talk about, because we finished up the month of March last week. We ended up, as I thought we would, about I think we were 6.8 degrees above normal. We ended up to be, I think, the 10th warmest March on record. Rainfall, snowfall was both below normal. We ended up 48.8 inches of snow for the season, which puts us at number 30 long term. Even though we were almost 10 inches above normal, we're pretty much done. I don't see anything that's going to really get us any sort of significant cold air pushing far enough south where we can get snow. If you recall, it was 2018, April 13th. We had one of the coldest, snowiest mid-Aprils I can ever remember around here. Just terrible weather. Yeah, in fact, the last three Aprils, 2018, 2019, and 2020, were pretty lousy. But I think the first 7 days of the month look to be pretty decent temperature-wise.
Wow. We've got some folks who are noting that it's brush fire warning dry here. And
that's one thing I was going to mention, was that I've been getting a lot of warnings on my phone, in the weather app of brush fire warning days.
Yeah, and part of that is not just so much due to the fact that it's dry, but Mike, you mentioned this before, it's been really windy. We've had a lot of days with a lot of wind. I mean, even yesterday, I took my dog for a walk at about 7 in the morning. I walked outside, I went, okay, it's 42 degrees, but the wind is out of the southwest at 30 miles an hour. And it was actually cold. And I bumped into a couple of other people walking their dogs, and it was like, it's pretty cold out. But you'll probably see maybe a little more burning probably today, only because yesterday there was a little bit too much wind. So today, when the wind relaxes a little bit, you might see some burning, but it is Easter Sunday, so that's probably going to be a little bit of a negative impact on the fact that people are going to be doing that. But I would not be surprised if you probably see, or we probably see, a return to windier conditions during the day on Monday and then also Tuesday. So Peg, you were alluding to the fact that someone said it's only 56 degrees at the lakefront. We actually had a weak front come through here last night. We turned the winds around to the northeast. I watched the readings at both Racine and Kenosha and Milwaukee literally go from 70 to 50 in about 5 minutes. The wind flipped in off the lake. We had a little bit of an onshore flow here earlier, but now it looks like it's beginning to weaken a little bit. So right along the lakefront, literally from like Fort Sheridan up to about, say, maybe Waukegan up to about Antioch, up to Pleasant Prairie, there may be just enough of an easterly wind. But I do think that's eventually going to get pushed back out into the lake later on this afternoon. So I think another day, 70 degrees is likely today. Another day, 70 degrees tomorrow. Another day of 70 degrees on Tuesday. And then it looks wet weather for Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. But this is pretty nice, and I think we mentioned it before. Even though we had some phenomenal amounts of snowfall here, most of it has basically evaporated and infiltrated into the soil. So I think we're doing pretty good at that point. If you see me bending over a little bit, I'm throwing a toy to my dog. He decided at the last minute. See right there?
Is he going to join us? There we go. Where's Legata, Mike?
Oh, Legata abandoned me. She went upstairs someplace. She's just...
she's like, I'm out of here.
Yeah.
So you call your cat Legata, which is Italian for cat, but you didn't know what Buona Pasqua means.
Well, it's Spanish for cat as well, too. We did it in we just did it in honor of our neighborhood, of the heritage in our neighborhood. And at first we called her El Gato, and then we realized, oops, that's not right. It's La Gata. Yeah, right. So we figured out the Spanish thing.
I know that
so they named their cat the cat.
Right.
The cat. Because I know that the Italian language and Spanish language are so very different. You couldn't figure that part out.
Okay. Sorry. No, I Italian I wouldn't even guess, but maybe Latin. I grew up doing the altar boy thing, so And in
Well,
fact,
we all grow up doing the altar boy thing. That's the best thing about being an altar boy. You say you did the altar boy thing.
yeah, you did right. And I only did it. It's kind of a performance thing. I just wanted to be on stage in front of everybody.
There you
So
go.
Yeah, that's one way of looking at it, I guess.
I guess. And I'm old enough to remember we learned it in Latin and then had to
Pre-Vatican II.
Yeah, go back to English after that.
That's right. Yeah, before Vatican II, you had to walk up to the little wall there and then stand
The altar
there.
rail.
And then the altar rail. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I was too young to remember that.
I could tell one story, church story that I think you'll find kind of interesting. Altar boy story.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I know. This is me. Okay, where I'm an altar boy and mass is going on, and it's supposed to be a high mass, but it's the wrong candles were lit, and at the beginning of the mass, I'm looking up and I go, those are the wrong candles, and it's driving me crazy. And then the priest is doing his sermon. And I'm sitting in the chair and I'm going, we got to fix that. Those are the wrong candles. We can't have those candles lit. So I get up in the middle of his sermon and I go across into the sacristy and I come back and I put out the candles that were lit and lit the right ones, the correct ones, and then went back and sat down. Priest says, "What were you doing?" I said, "Well, the wrong candles were lit. It was for the wrong mass." He said, "Thank you for being concerned. Please don't get up in the middle of my sermon ever again." All right.
Oh yeah.
And all I could think of is, it's the wrong candles. I got to fix it. I've got to fix this. So it's, a little 8-year-old boy or whatever is trying to figure out, make sure that everybody. I assumed everybody in church knew the wrong candles were lighted.
Well, I have 45 seconds before I talk about Easter weather history. I can top that.
Okay.
When I was an altar, I was about 13 years old, and the priest was doing the washing of the feet. When they do the disciples and all the men get up there and they sit down, they take their shoes off and their socks, and I'm holding the silver tray of water, and if you tip it like 1/4 inch one way, it spills over. So I'm already nervous holding this while he's dipping his blessed or his blessed towel in it. So he's washing the other foot. Then he takes the right foot, because that's the one that was closer to him, and he brings it towards him. And while I'm standing there, I'm thinking to myself, he's bringing the foot towards him to smell whether or not it's clean enough. But that's not what he was doing. He was kissing it. So when I thought he did that, I literally did this in a church of 800 people, where everything, when it's quiet, when you make a noise, the sound ricochets from one to the other. So while I'm standing there, he pulls the foot towards me. I go like this. Literally, I went, ha! And the Rick DiMaio laugh is not a quiet laugh. It's got its drama seated from years ago when you had 20 people in the house and something was funny, you laughed loud. Okay, so my laugh literally went from one end of the church to the other, and then back around from one side to the other, and hit in the middle and made it even louder. And when I did that, this is the pastor, literally, the head guy, literally looked up at me like that with the eyes going, "What the hell was that?" He didn't have to say anything. I knew what he was saying at that point.
Oops.
What made matters worse is my parents, who decided to join in and watch me do my thing, were literally in the second row. And I felt their eyes. I felt their eyes looking at me. And as I was shaking even more so at this point, I looked up and I saw both of them like looking at me like, "What the hell was that?" But the thing about it was, at the end of the service, at that point, we went up and we were doing something else off to the side, and Father Richards was his name. He goes, "What was that?" I said, "I thought you were smelling his foot to see whether or not it was clean." And you know what he did? He started laughing. He goes, "All right, I can understand that. You're off the hook." Because he thought I was laughing. Yeah. And then, of course, I had to hear from my parents after that. My dad was like, "What was that all about?" But yeah, those stories never go away. All right, so a little bit of Easter history. I sent this to you guys.
Ooh, I have a Cooper's hawk that just landed on the bird feeder, by the way. There we go.
Oh, good. Yeah.
Sorry, I just
so-
giant bird going by.
No, Peg, that's what this show is all about. It's interrupting people when they're about to say something.
That's right. That's how we roll. That's how we roll here.
So Easter weather, we know that it doesn't happen the same day every year. We've had Easter as early as March 30th, Easter as late as like April 20th or 18th. And that's because you have to have a full moon after the beginning of the, after the vernal equinox. So it's the first Sunday after the full moon. So the warmest Easter ever, April 10th, 1977, we were 85 degrees. The coldest, March 24th, 1940, we had a low of 11. That's pretty darn cold. March 25th, we had a high of only 19. That was back in 1894. The wettest, March 31st, 1929, we had 3.5 inches of rain. Mike, I don't think you were here. Peg, I don't know if you were old enough, but 1964, Peg, you were probably you were.
I wasn't
I don't know
here
because I remember you showed me.
I wasn't here.
Okay, it was the 78 snow pictures that you were showing me, right? Not the 67 ones, right?
67.
March 29th.
No, 67. Yeah.
March 29th, 1964. 7 inches of snow, and we had a fairly significant snow back on Easter Sunday, 2008. That was also the year that the Cubs, I think, had one of the coldest opening days ever. I think it was like 27 degrees.
They're all cold.
On that. You know what, Mike? They're actually not. I did the study. I went back and looked at opening days all the way back to 1950, and oddly enough, there were a lot of days where we had opening days at Wrigley that were actually quite warm, and that's only because in the 1930s, 40s, and 50s, opening day wasn't until about the middle of April because we had a shorter season. It was 154 games. But I went back and looked, and we actually had a couple of opening days where it was almost like 75, 80 degrees. So it really depended on, I think, whether or not you had a lot of people out at the ballpark. If you go back and you look at pre-Cubs 1984, you would get maybe 10, 15,000 people for opening day. It wasn't, no, seriously, it wasn't until they got good. Yeah, it wasn't until they got good in like 1982, 83, 84, did you start to have these 33,000, 40,000, people in the game.
Now you can't get a ticket.
Now you can't get a ticket. And what was most amazing, I look back at 1963, they were opening up against the Los Angeles Dodgers, who back then, Mike, baseball, had Don Drysdale and Sandy Koufax, two of the best pitchers of their time. Opening day attendance was less than 3,000 people on both the first game and the second game. And the weather was also rotten as well. So it was not only because the Cubs stunk back then, it was pretty lousy weather as well.
So, all right. Well, we need to get a forecast here and then let you go.
Yeah. So 70 to 75 today. Again, right along the lakefront, literally probably east of Sheridan Road from about, say, Kenilworth northward. There's going to be a light east-southeast wind for the next 2 or 3 hours, and temperatures probably only in the mid-50s. But this is going to be washed out very quickly by strong southwest winds. So probably 70 to 75, second day in a row at both O'Hare. Midway, what we're going to talk about next week, Mike and Peg, are the soil temperatures.
Okay.
Because what's beginning to happen is the soil is beginning to warm up, and you'll start to see those readings come out from the Botanic Gardens and also NIU, and I think the Illinois Water Survey as well. I think that'll be kind of an interesting thing to look at from a historical perspective. 70 to 75 tomorrow, 70 to 75 on Tuesday, rain most likely Tuesday night into Wednesday, and between Tuesday night, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, winds off the lake. That means readings probably only in the upper 40s, right along the lakefront, maybe 50 inland. But what I think is most notable is that I think the lake breeze season this year, and we'll see how this works out, is going to be a little bit shorter because the lake is a little bit warmer. And by this time next week, I'll be probably inside talking to you because it'll be cloudy and cool. But we could be looking at about 1.5 inches and 1.25 inches of rain. So we have some cloudy, cooler wetter weather for the second half of the week. But this is mighty fine for April 4th.
It is
70 degrees.
It's excellent, and I think I'm going to have to go hit a bucket of balls, or You know, and the
Get out in the yard somehow.
And plant some more stuff in the yard. I was doing some work the other day planting some stuff, so that's another thing I'm going to get out and do. All right, Rick, thank you so much. Happy Easter. Have a great Sunday.
Yep. Thanks, Mike. Take care, Peg. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right. Let us. We're right at the end here, so we just do this.